Lovely. Thank you. Okay, Keith, thanks for making the time to do this. So, how did it feel getting back out in the ring?
I mean, it was just great, man, to be back out. Obviously the fans could see the excitement and the joy that I was um, exuberating just walking into the ring before the knockout, before the highlight finish. Um, it's just a great thing, when you dedicate yourself to boxing like I have, since my childhood. And I lived a great life of being a two-time world champion. But when you still got fight left in you, you want to fight. I've had a lot of obstacles that I've had to face in my career, but I stayed very positive, always believing in the future. And 2025, we have some fights that are coming to the table to negotiate. And we kicked it off out there in Australia against Brock Jarvis. And yeah, I danced my way into the ring and I danced my way out of the ring, man. So it felt very great to be back into boxing.
Did it feel the same as before the inactivity, or do you take it now time is perhaps less on your side? Are you slightly more grateful for the opportunities? And does it feel like this is, I don't know, this is the last run, right?
I just felt fun again, like when I was a young amateur and I fought for trophies and it wasn't about recognition and world. It was like I just did my best to make my mommy and my daddy proud. You know what I mean? Like just less. Less psychological pressure, when you're a kid growing up, you don't even know if boxing is going to be your career. You just know you're doing a sport, you love it, and you want to win, all the tournaments that you enter. You win some, you lose some, and you keep it moving. But as a pro, you know it's really hard for fighters to come back sometimes after a certain loss. Some fighters, it's not a big deal. They lose, they fight again, they win some, they lose some, and they know that they have a certain style that's entertaining. But other fighters with social media and everything today, they get that career loss, and it's, oh, he was a nobody. We told you he was a nobody. And it can just be emotionally taxing, let alone the physicality of the sport. So you just never know. Based off of the articles, the write-ups, the memes, all the little videos. I mean, there's just so much happening in boxing right now. So everybody wants to do good. Nobody wants to do bad. But when you're fighting the best, only one man can win. And it's a tough, brutal sport, man. It always has been, always will be. But for me right now, I can care less about everybody. I know there's a lot of people who doubt what Thurman can do, what he's gonna do, blah blah blah. I believe in myself, always have, always will, and I'm just looking forward to this year 2025. I kicked it off with Brock Jarvis, and now I'm looking forward to getting into tougher fights.
How does Keith Thurman now of 2025 compare with Keith Thurman of 7, 8 years ago?
Just more mature, just a deep. I mean, I've always had a good eye in boxing. I always understood, certain things. I've always been at the top of the class ever since my amateur days. But it's just what maturity does and what knowledge does, man. I've just marinated in the sport. I know so much. I see so much, and there's just a lot of like that veteran kind of confidence of just knowing what it means to step into those ropes and commit yourself to fight night.
Were people waiting for you to lose so they could jump on you?
Wow, they can keep waiting, baby. You know, something that I know and certain people in boxing know is there's never been a day where somebody just stepped in the ring with Keith Thurman, beat me, and said, "Oh yeah, he's like fighting anybody. He's just another fighter." I've always been a special fighter. I've always been tough for the toughest fighters in the world, and it's that's where a lot of my confidence comes from. Is people forget. When I was undefeated, I told the world, if you can beat me, beat me. I was never worried about being beaten because whoever beats this guy has got to be one hell of a fighter. I've never lost to lower tier fighters. No matter how tough they are, no matter what country they come from, whether they're right-handed or southpaw, just being a tough guy, being a good fighter is never good enough to beat Keith Thurman. I've only lost uh, to great fighters.
What do you have down as the best performance of your career, Keith? What's the performance that stands out?
Uh, I mean, I used to kind of switch it up, but the one that I always liked was the my performance against Diego Chavez. I was that's when I became the interim champion before I was world champion. And because it was for the interim title, the number one position through the WBA, uh, I think it was a scheduled 12-round fight, but I stopped him in the 10th round. So that fight was just good, man. I was 20-0 with 18 knockouts, and he was 22-0 with 18 knockouts. So I took out a very tough opponent, undefeated opponent, and that was the fight. Paulie Malignaggi was broadcast. He was a part of the analytical team, and after that fight, he never said anything bad about me again because he saw firsthand I took out his mandatory. Diego Chavez was supposed to be Paulie Malignaggi's mandatory at the time because Paulie Malignaggi was the champion until he got his loss to Adrian Broner. So,
Sure. Okay.
so that was the timeline of that, and I just think where I was at coming up in the ranks, I finally took the number one position underneath the title holder, and I think from that point on, a lot of people understood that I don't think anything's going to stop this kid from being champion of the world. And so, you know, I just really remember the training camp, the game plan, the way we executed the game plan, and it being a challenging fight, but I was able to persevere and still get the knockout victory at that time.
You made a big impression down in Australia, by the way. Obviously, I saw you in the headlines pretty much every day that you were down there at different things, different events and so forth. Do you think that you'll fight down there again?
Yeah, with their No Limit Promotions is very happy to work with me, and they would love for the Thurman Tim Zoo fight to happen in Australia. And they're very eager to promote that event. Obviously, he has to get past Joey Spencer this coming weekend, and that's what they have in the forecast for Tim Zoo and for Australia fight fans. They really enjoyed having me out there. Obviously, their fighters don't know how to sell a fight like a Thurman fight, and it was a lot of fun. I know a lot of people didn't really show a lot of interest in the Thurman Brock Jarvis fight, and I understand. But once I touched ground, like you said, and I started doing all the promo reels, all of a sudden people remember, you know what? I do like Thurman. You know what? I love the way he talks that smack. Oh man, I mean, it's like I'm just my personality just slowly started reminding people what I bring to boxing. I talk the talk, I walk the walk. The performance, there was a lot of great fights that night. There was a lot of great knockouts that night. Still, nobody gets to steal my night. I made it about my comeback, and I came back hungry. I came back strong, and it just was an exciting night of boxing. And at the end of the day, it was the Thurman show. And I think a lot of people forgot what the Thurman show looks like. And Australia has never gotten a piece of the Thurman show, so they were flabbergasted. They didn't even know what's happening. Is this guy for real? Is this guy trying to sell a fight? I don't know. Is he actually any good? 36 years old. We don't know what we're going to get out of him. they loved everything I was promoting, but they still, everyone had that question mark, you know. And then the bell rings, and then I let my hands go, and they see that, you know, I'm not talk, I'm not just show. I'm a little bit of everything, man. So it was a very fun business trip. It was beautiful to showcase my skills and get the love from the fight people and the fight fans of Australia. And like I said, the contract seems like something they want to send my way, and I'll be happy to receive it. It's not like I've seen another contract on the table yet, and I want to stay busy. I think they want Zoo to come back strong and keep him busy, try to recover this year, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Is that a fight you particularly want? I know that you guys have got, you know, you were slated to fight before.
I
So
don't.
is
I don't. I'm getting tired of this question. Okay, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad
sure.
at the question. Okay,
Okay.
so they keep asking me, is Tim Zoo the fight that I want? I
Mm,
don't want fights. Okay. I don't want a fighter. I want fights, and I want to get paid. 3 years of inactivity. You don't know the life of a boxer. I don't fight. I don't get paid. There's a few side gig things that I can do, commentating this and that. Those checks are nowhere near what a fight money brings in for me, my family, and my career. In 2024, I had to walk away from a big money fight in Vegas against Tim Tszyu. Now they want to bring Tim Tszyu to the table. And guess what? It's not the Vegas money on the table no more. It's the same fight. There's no world title. There's less money,
right.
but there's enough money to go ahead and make the fight happen,
Sure.
you know? And
But
if I don't fight early in the summer, when am I going to fight again? Who am I going to fight? Where's my next contract? I don't care about who I'm going to fight. I can go fight exhibitions in Tokyo for all I care. I don't care who I fight next. I care that I do fight next. The problem with the boxing fans and the Thurman fans and the Once Upon a Time fans, at the end of the day, it's my inactivity that has left a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths. So Keith Thurman isn't really looking at this guy or that guy. I know how the sport is. It's hard to get people in the ring that you want to fight. I want to be in the ring. I want to be active. I want to fight decent fights. And from going from Brock Jarvis to Tim Tszyu and then whoever's next, I think it's a solid progression. And like I said, I can't argue with that. Um, and I'm happy to pick up the check. So you got a check for me. You got somebody to punch in the face, and you got a check for me. Send it over, man. You know you got a number of my peoples. Let my peoples get with your peoples. You give me my next check. That's the mindset Keith Thurman's in right now.
well, I suppose at 154, right, you should be spoiled for choice, right? You got Fundura, you know, they talk about Spence maybe having another one. You got Barrios, who's got a belt who you've already beaten. All those guys that you want all the like. It doesn't matter who, you just want to be in and amongst those guys, right?
Name, date, check, paper, send it. You know what I'm saying? It's not hard, but a lot of these guys, they say what they want to say. It's not easy to get the fights. If it was easy for me to get the fights in America, I'd already have my first comeback fight in America. I got two fights at the beginning, within the first 6 months of the year. Boom, first 6, 7 months of the year being negotiated overseas.
Mm.
And then hopefully by the end of the year, I can get one of the names that you said back in the ring. Maybe a Fundora fight, maybe a title eliminator fight. Because if I'm not fighting for a world title by the end of the year, it needs to at least be um, a mandated fight that it's a title eliminator, so that after whoever wins gets to step up to Fundora or some world champion, guaranteed. So like I said, for me, it's a progressional thing. My last fight was scheduled for 10 rounds, went three. Um, and to my knowledge, because Zoo's not champion, what I heard was the proposal for the Zoo fight would be proposed at a 10-round level because he's not champion. So it already went down from fighting him last year at a 12-round championship level to, if we step in the ring this year, less money on the table, but technically potentially less rounds. If it's a 10-round fight, it's just going to throw me up higher in the ranks, and it will not be a title eliminator shot, which means my third fight of the year, I should be ranked high enough. I believe I already am ranked high enough now with my comeback fight, but ranked high enough to fight for a world title. Um, but like I said, if we're not fighting for a world title, then it needs to be a title eliminator shot. Just something, the proper progression, man. The one thing at 36 years old, I'm happy to bounce around the ring, collect the checks, and make good fights happen, decent fights happen. I could do more little soft tune-ups and easy fights if I wanted to, but I want to climb that ladder one more time and fight for that world title and try to pursue becoming a three-time world champion in my boxing career.
Is it 154 pounds only for you now? No more 150, no more 147.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, obviously it's easier to make weight at 54. There'd be a stronger cut for 147. But I've done things methodically with my nutritionist for many, many, many years. So I do believe that it's hard to say, but I think mathematically, like when I stepped on the scale and I know how long I was cutting in my camp for my last fight, I kind of do feel like I could make 147. It'll never be fun getting to that last little cut with the water weight and everything. But there's just a part of me that always sees a welterweight inside of me. But one thing that Sean Porter was trying to say when he was out there in Australia was he was referencing my amateur days. So as an amateur, Sean Porter was fighting at 165 pounds, and Keith Thurman was fighting at 152 pounds. And this was the weight division at the time for our Olympic year. So I started like my amateur career because I didn't want to make 140, and they took away 147. I was competing at 152, and that's why for my Olympic trials I had to fight Boo Boo Andrade, who clearly could have been a 54 pounder, and I could have easily been a 47 pounder. But they keep playing with the amateur weight classes that I don't think is beneficial for the amateurs. They should just mirror the pros and prepare them for their professional careers. But I've so even when I was a young man before I turned pro, I kind of was right there at 154, 152. So it's very natural for me to fight at 154. I think I can keep a lot of my power. I think I can get a little bit of better rest and not put so much strain on the body. And we'll see as the year continues if we feel confident about this approach and fighting the bigger fighters. You get taller guys and bigger guys at 154. Naturally, Brock Jarvis wasn't that, but naturally, Tim Zoo, Fundora, and a lot of these other guys, potentially Charlo, they're bigger guys at 154 than what I'm used to at 147. But it's weird, fighting Mario Barrios again. I don't think he wants it. I don't think he wants it. I know his manager doesn't want it. He literally told me to my face. He says, "We don't need that rematch." So they're happy being champions, and we'll see. But for me, it's more about fight proposal, and then I just got to sit down with my team, and I'm willing to negotiate anything at this point in my career because I love boxing. I want to be active, and I just want to go out with a bang.
So you kind of you did answer my next question there, but I kind of just wanted to dwell on that. You've obviously been quite transactional, talk about money, check, activity. You just said there that you love boxing. Do you still have that passion, or have you been burnt out by the politics and the inactivity? And has it tested your love of the sport
No,
since?
yeah, the politics and stuff tested my patience, because I ran into a lot of politics when there's a big shift happening as Showtime was falling out and things are shifting and things are the world is spinning, right? We're in motion. Everything is shifting. One second the dollar's up, the dollar's down, gold is up, gold is down, right? The world is always in motion. Economics, and boxing on HBO, boxing on Showtime. Who's better? HBO, Showtime, HBO, Showtime. Oh wait, there is no HBO, there is no Showtime. Like, this is a shift, this is a transitional point in the sport of boxing. And there's, like I said, without saying a lot, there's been a lot of politics that has occurred in this time. And it was frustrating for me because I wasn't fully aware of what I actually was going through. It's kind of like stepping outside and seeing a storm, but you didn't get the weather report. And at the end of the day, so much time has passed that I'm able to look past all the things that were pissing me off and just say, look, man, what do you want to do? Do you want to get back in the ring? And the answer was yes. And I took the first opportunity they sent me. His name was Brock Jarvis. People say, why is Keith Thurman doing? They ain't sending me a whole list of names, homie. All right. They gave me a simple name from a simple town, and I've said, I'm simply gonna go get that bag. Believe that. And we did that. Mission accomplished. On to the next. What did they call it? Another. When you love boxing, when you don't want to quit, when you don't want to give in, you want that next fight. So for me, that's why you hear this talk right now. Next fight, next bag, next check, next opponent. Where are they? Who wants to fight Keith Thurman? Because Keith Thurman wants to fight this year. Who wants to fight Keith Thurman? When Keith Thurman lost to Manny Pacquiao, they don't line up. They don't line up for the toughest fight of their life who doesn't have a title no more. They just don't. They don't line up for that one. You know, all these guys, they can fight each other. They can fight this guy. We can pick this guy. He's up and coming. He's got a clean record, but he's beatable. I'm going to fight that guy. It's not everybody wants the legend. 36 years old. Okay, he's an old dog, but he's an old dog that still got bite. Do you want to fight him today? Oh, let him get a little older. So we'll see, man. I'm not going to focus on what other people are trying to do in boxing. I'm going to focus on what I'm trying to do. And at 154, I'm just trying to come up in the ranks and hopefully, preferably by the end of the year, the start of next year, you'll see Keith Thurman going for the world title.
Just one more. Do you have like long-term goals away from boxing? Do you think about the next chapter and what you do when you do eventually hang them up?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I could do. I'm an avid meditator. Um, I love mentoring and just giving back to communities. Uh, I really have a passion for speaking to the youth. I love to do some motivational speaking. I got an engagement tomorrow, actually, on a corporate event, not with the youth, but I want to, diversify myself to corporate speaking and youth speaking. And
Yeah.
for those purposes, just sharing my story. You know, a 7-year-old boy who found boxing, who whose boxing coach was the janitor of his elementary school, who trained him from the age of 7 to the age of 20 when he passed away, raised by my single mother, you know, spent time with my father, who did martial arts and just planted the seed of some kind of combat sport in me. And just, I dropped out of high school so that I can train in the morning when the pros were training. And luckily for me, they weren't regular pros at my gym. We had Winky Wright and Jeff Left Hook Lacey. My gym had 2 world champions. So it's like I've dropped out of school to go wake up every morning and walk through Wall Street, and be with the best top investors. you know. So I tell people I left one education to get another education, and I live my life off of passion, and that's what I love to do, So whatever I do outside of boxing, it's just going to be another thing that I'm passionate about, because I don't move without passion in life, So I got passion for the youth. I got passion for mentoring, advising people. I have a passion for mental health. I watched my mother suffer through depression, bedridden depression when I was a teenager, 14, 15 years old. And so I understand mental health issues. And of course, now that I'm not a teenager, it was actually something I wasn't really I didn't have the empathy and the understanding of what my mother was struggling with at the time. But as I've grown older, as I've read more about psychology, got more knowledge about dopamine and depression and different things, and a better understanding of women as a husband, as a father, So there's a lot more to Keith Thurman in general at this stage of my life, at this stage of my career. But overall, like we were saying, that passion for boxing, that passion for being in the ring, that passion for fight night, is still there. And, someone's going to have to beat it out of me. I tell people I got I got 31 wins, 22 knockouts. I got one loss. But if you ask me, Keith Thurman is still undefeated. So I've never seen defeat in the ring. No one's destroyed me, took me out, destroyed my passion, destroyed my drive and my love for the sport. So, yeah, if they want to see me gone, they're going to have to put some hands on me.
So the 154 division just got a lot more interesting. Brilliant. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this, Keith. And thank you very much, Hannah, as well. I really appreciate it.
All good, Trish.